Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the French Watch Collector. Today we have a very exciting watch that I'm really looking for. It's an Omega Speedmaster Mark III, or the Jedi. Some people call it the Jedi, with this beautiful blue hand. So that's a watch that I'm really looking forward to, because I got it on eBay. You can see when I change the time, it's not working. The chronograph is working, it starts, but the minute hand, you see, it's like it's sliding, it's not good. And when I press, it jumps back to 0 and looks like the setting chronograph button is jammed. So there is some work to do on this watch, but it's a watch that I really like. So first, let's remove the bracelet. So it came with the original bracelet, which is quite nice. You saw as well the glass is quite damaged, so I need to change the glass. And I don't know what we will find inside. That will be a surprise. Let's see straight away what we find inside. Wow, look at it. This is the first chronograph from Omega, which is automatic, with an automatic movement. So that's quite of an historical piece for Omega. The watch, I think, when I looked at it with the serial number, is from 1972. So yeah, that's quite an old watch. And a nice watch I like, with this beautiful blue hand and kind of gray dial. Beautiful. So first, let's remove the rotor from the automatic mechanism. It's holded by 3 screws. It's a bearing in the middle, a ball bearing in the middle. Very small screws. So let's put them aside so we can see the movement a bit better underneath. Okay, let's get the rotor out. Wow, this movement is looking very nice. Some tension spring, I guess, to hold the movement in place. And just check when I start and stop the movement. Looking good. You can see the wheels moving, the hammers moving. But yeah, there is something wrong with the reset. It doesn't go, and the pusher is acting very weird. So we need to look at it later. Okay, so I took the movement out of the case, and yeah, this is the case, you see, with the crystal and this kind of bezel inside. It's looking good. Just need to replace the crystal. Okay, I put the crown back to align all the hand. Just need to be really careful, because these ends are very nice, so I don't want to damage anything. So you can see it has a minute hand in the middle. That's a hand from the chronograph, with a kind of wings on the side. A hour counter at the bottom, and a second counter on the left, with a second time indicator, with like a night and day indicator. So that's quite nice. So I removed the second hand on the top, because it's quite tall. With all this hand in the middle, the system is very tall, so it was very difficult to remove. So now that I remove the second hand, I can remove the other hand with my Presso tool. So again, you have the hour, the minute for the time, and the minute hand from the chronograph, all in the middle. So there you go, I put them aside. And now what's left is the 2 small hands for the subdials. So first I remove the hand for the hour, the chronograph hours. It was quite tight, this one, to pull out, yeah? Okay, get the hand out of the way. And the last one is his running second hand. So you need to go underneath and pull it up, This one was easier to remove. Okay, good. The hands are out, and now I can remove the dial. So this dial is just friction mounted. There is no screws, there is no dial fit screws. So gently turn around with a screwdriver and try to pull it up. You see underneath there is a spacer ring for the dial. So now everything is removed, the hand and the dial. I will put everything in a box to store it safely away because we don't want to damage anything. Put the dial in the middle, close everything. There we go, it's nicely in place, in a secure place, so we can carry on with the movement now. Okay, I put the movement in a movement holder and we can start the disassembly. So first I will remove, that's a bridge for the automatic device. So that connects the rotor to the main spring barrel to wind the barrel automatically. Okay, let's take it out of the way. Some parts to disassemble. Here is some wheels that will drive the crown wheel to make sure it's winding properly. So I remove these wheels. It's weird, like you see this ring around, like this white ring around, is made out of plastic, yeah, plastic material. I don't know what exactly, so I need to be really careful with that. And okay, we can carry on with the rest. So first I remove the hour connecting rod, which is on the top. So that's a rod that connects from the second. So this is the side of the chronograph, which you will have the second, and on the other side of the chronograph you will have the minute and hours. This mechanism is a bit different because the minute is in the middle of the chronograph. Normally it's on the side, so it's a bit different. But this one has the minute on the other side as well. So you will see me because on the chronograph you have a lot of screws, much more than a normal movement, and all the screws are different. Some screws have shoulders, some doesn't have shoulders, the size are different. So to make sure I keep the right screw in the right place, when I remove them, I put them back on the movement and I will clean them on the movement, so to be sure they stay in the right place. And when I assemble the watch, I remove the screw first, put the part and put the screw back to make sure I don't mix the screws, because some of the screws, they look very similar but there is some tiny difference and you just want to make sure you use the screw at the right place, yeah. Okay, that was a connecting rod valley, yeah, that I just removed. Again, I put the screw back in place to make sure I don't mix it up with other screws. I cannot remove this connecting rod because the big screw which is on the top of the cam doesn't allow me to remove the rod, so I leave it like that for now because I don't want to use any force. So yeah, just stay like that for now, yeah. Okay, first I remove the spring, so that's the second hammer spring, to remove the tension in the chronograph mechanism. There we go. That's the second hammer that I will remove gently. It comes straight up. So that's a hammer that will reset when I push the reset button. That will reset the second and the hour and minute on the other side. Chronograph runner that I remove for the second. Now I remove the cam spring. That's the spring that's holding the cam. So that's the part that will rotate and the different position and keep the chronograph in a different position. So start, stop, and reset. So that's the spring that we click, that we make the cam click in place. Okay, again, put the screw back, always. So this will be a two-part video. It will be my first video in two parts because that's the most difficult movement that I've done so far. There is a lot of parts, there is a lot of stuff to do on a watch. So if I do one video, it will be like a very, very long video. So I will do, this will be the first part, the disassembly of the watch and the cleaning of the watch, and it will be a second part where I redo the assembly and the final showdown on the watch. So and it will come like in next week. So yeah, stay tuned and subscribe if you want to see the final product of this watch. But yeah, the disassembly is very interesting because yeah, this is a very difficult movement and a very special movement from Omega, as I said at the beginning. First automatic chronograph from Omega, and it's looking very, very nice. So okay, now I remove the lower and the upper cam. And by removing this big screw, I will remove the connecting rod that I could not remove at the beginning. And you see again on the table, I will keep everything as organized, so all the parts from the chronograph on one side, the part from the hours chronograph on another, so to make sure I don't mix the parts together as well during cleaning and for reassembly. That's the operating lever that we connect from the pusher to the rest of the mechanism. Okay, just remove it. I should have removed maybe the spring first. You see, it was a bit of tension there. Put the screw back. I don't know how many parts there is on this movement. I didn't count, but trust me that there is a lot of parts. So, and a lot of screws. So you need to have a very good memories to make sure everything go back together. I use as well I found on internet the assembly guide or disassembly guide if you want the manual from Omega. I tell you how to disassemble and reassemble it, how to oil the mechanism, where to put which type of oil and where to put it. So that's very handy. I try to look for this manual on as soon as I have a new movement. Sometimes it's difficult to find, but it's very handy, like to make sure everything, you disassemble everything properly and you reassemble everything in the right way as well, with the oil and grease at the right place. Okay, so now I remove the operating lever spring and our operating lever assembly is out. We are moving nicely along, like you can see already on a chronograph. That's a lot of part just for the chronograph, just for the second side. We see on the other side there will be a lot of part as well. Now I have access to the click spring, so I remove gently the power which is in a watch. You see it's turning gently. There we go. Now you will see the balance assembly coming to a stop slowly. There we go. So all the power is out of the watch now. Now that's the bolt stem. I remove the bolt stem and the spring. Another spring there, calling the wigwag spring. That's a kind of connection for the crown wheel. Okay, so that's an important part. That's a arm that will rotate and come in contact with the chronograph wheel. So that's the wheel that will drive or not the chronograph in a second. So you see, you need to be careful as well, because there is some screws which are screws to adjust the chronograph movement, not to remove the parts. You need to be sure that you don't touch these screws. If you touch them, you will have to readjust the entire chronograph movement, and that's quite tricky to do. So when you disassemble a watch which is working, while chronograph is running, or you just make sure you don't touch these screws, you keep them in place and you remove only the screws that keep the the parts in place and not the screw which are used to adjust the mechanism. Okay, the blocking lever, that's removed. Put the screws and you can see there is not much part left on top. Only a spring in the middle, which is holding the chronograph runner, which I'm gonna remove now, and the chronograph driving wheel. That's the wheel that makes the connection between the timekeeping, so underneath the train of wheel, and on the top plate the chronograph parts. So that's a link between the train of wheel and the chronograph to make sure the power comes from the train of wheel to the chronograph to drive all the hands for the chronograph. Okay, that's a wheel. I will remove it with a version tool to make sure I pull it straight up and don't damage it. It's friction mounted. Underneath you have an extended pivot from one wheel from the train of wheel. It's mounted on this wheel, so that's how all the connection is done between the chronograph and the timekeeping element of the watch. Okay, so now I remove all the parts from the chronograph on this side, so I can remove this big plate. This huge plate actually is taking like 80% on top of the watch, so which is held by 3 screws, and you need to gently lift it up. Remove the screw first. For example, these screws, I will not put them back. I know as I go, they will go with the plate. I will not put them back on the mechanism. Okay. Here we go, it's coming gently. That's a huge plate. So this plate does everything. It does the train of wheel, it keeps the train of wheel inside, it keeps the mainspring barrel in place, and underneath there is some parts. Underneath, so that the crown wheel, the click spring and everything is all underneath this part. So first we remove the wheels from the train of wheel. I remove now the balance assembly. Should have done that maybe earlier. As always, I like to remove it as early as possible to make sure it doesn't get damaged. This is a bit tight. So I don't know, but this movement was probably not maintained for a long time. So yeah, he's in desperate need of a service. The part looks good. The movement doesn't look too dirty, but you could see when he ran on a time grapher, it was not running properly, and yeah, the second, like the minute hand was moving when you were changing the hours. The setting was the reset of the chronograph was not proper, so he was desperately needing a service, I think. Okay, so now I remove the pallet fork. So yeah, if you like this type of video, it would be really important for me if you subscribe to the channel, because there will be many more videos to come, and especially the second part of this one if you like this watch. So please like the video and subscribe. Okay, I finished to remove the rest of the train of wheel, the barrel assembly. So I remove the main spring with the ratchet wheel on top. Okay, I will have to disassemble that as well for cleaning. Okay, let's move on the other side. First, we are going to remove the calendar assembly. The calendar plate on the top. Okay, let's remove this plate with the screws. Underneath there is a spring. That's what's all the date jumper. I mean, it keeps the date jumper under tension. So I set everything aside for the calendars. The last screw, make sure you don't forget anything. And I think, yeah, this is our wheel that stay stuck with the plate. Yeah, let's put everything. I'm looking how it goes together, just to make sure I remember. Okay, so now, yeah, that's the date jumper out of the way. And I gently remove the date ring with carbon tweezer tips. There you go, I put it with the calendar parts. Okay, this is a spring and it comes with the minute heart as well attached, so it's a bit maybe some dry grease. Okay, that's what will drive the minute hand from the chronograph. Okay, this driving wheel, like for the calendar mechanism, is screwed on with a screw in the middle. So let's remove the screw first. Okay, remove the ring. And I remove, that's a calendar driving wheel with a disc on top, you see, for the second time. 24 is measured on a 24-hour scale. So you have a night and day indicator on it. Okay, so first I'm going to remove the minute hammer spring to release a bit of tension. So you can see now on this side it looks like there is a lot less parts, but actually there is 2 layers, so that's the top layers, and there is 2 plates that need to be removed, and there will be some other parts underneath. Okay, put the screw back in place to make sure I know, like that, I know where it goes when I assemble it back. Okay, so now I remove, that's a minute hammer, so that to reset the minute hand. You see I put the screw back in place even if there is another part underneath. I just put it back in place because I prefer to remove it again, just to be sure that I don't lose it or I don't put it in a right place. Okay, I remove this screw on the top. That's our recorder stopping lever. But the small screw actually that I removed, you don't need to remove it. So it's just holding the spring underneath in place. So yeah, I'll put back the big screw to make sure I don't lose it, and I will put back the small screw in place, just to make sure as well it stay with the part. Yeah, if you are like me, I really like, I'm really passionate about chronograph. So now I try to get as many historical chronograph. So that's first Omega, like I said, the first automatic Omega, but there is other historical caliber like the 321, 861. So yeah, I try to, for my collection, I try to get this watch and restore them myself. And this is parts that will stay in my collection, I think, for a very long time, because they are like historical pieces. I like automotive sports and aerospace, so that's why this is linked to this environment. So yeah, this is why I like to collect these pieces. So there will be many more, many more very special chronograph that will come to the channel. That's one of the first one. There will be other one as well, maybe some El Primeros and some other from Psycho or higher. Yeah, so that's the first one. I will come to the channel. Okay, this part that I removed, that's a mistake. You can leave the screw back in place because this is the valley that will drive, that connects from the other side to this side. So basically when you activate with the click, it will make sure the second and the second side and the minute and hour side click together, I mean are activated together. This you don't need to remove. So when I assemble the watch, I will have to set that up again because it was set up probably by the original watchmaker, and you don't really need to remove this part. It comes in one piece with the other side. So these screws, that's not good to remove it. Just remember if you work on this watch. Yeah? And I think it's a reverse threaded screw as well. You see it's a screw with 3 lines. So yeah, now I just put it back together, but you see on the other side there is nothing holding the part, so it's a bit difficult to put it back because it is turning, as I have no part attached on the other side. So I will push it with my finger from underneath and make sure I tie it as much as I can, that it stay in place during washing. Okay, so now you see I remove the big bridge, one of the big bridge, and underneath you can see some more parts to disassemble. So we are going to carry on with this here. So now I just remove the valley for the minute clamp. That are the 2-minute clamp on the side that I will come and leave the minute clamp, the minute hand running or not. So it will, by friction, it will put pressure against the minute wheel, which you can see in the middle. So that's the 2 clamp on one side, and this is a cannon pinion with the minute, which is a very long cannon pinion. I cannot use my Presto tool to remove it, which I don't like. So I use my soft tweezers to remove it and pull it up as straight as I could. And as it is friction mounted, it was quite a lot of force to apply, which is never good on a watch, but sometimes you need to do. Okay, and the center wheel just went off on the other side, so just put it in a place where I need to go, yeah, for cleaning. Okay, that's the date connector. That's for the change of the quick set date. If you want to change the date very quickly, just remove. Okay, so now I'm just going to remove like the mechanism which were underneath the plate. So it's a lot of springs. Mechanism for like the date correction. And crowns as well for driving the date mechanism. So I remove everything, and same as on a chronograph on the other side, I put the screws back. These are very small screws. Just need to be careful because there is need to make sure there is no tension on these parts so they don't fly away, because they are very, very small parts. Okay, just checking how it goes together. All good. Put the screw back. And I don't know if you have like a different type of watch and you bring them for a service to your watchmaker or to your retailer, and like the chronograph, they always cost a lot more money to service than a normal watch. and now that I work on a chronograph, I can understand why, because yeah, there is so many parts and it takes so much more time to service this watch rather than a normal watch with even a date function or automatic watch, which is like double or triple the time that you spend on a normal watch. So it's quite tricky to do. But if you like, because I said like I do this watch as a hobby, I'm not a professional. I like mechanical systems, and these chronographs are amazing because there is a lot of parts. Lots of parts are connecting to each other. So yeah, it's very interesting to work on these mechanisms. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to remove the hour recorder spring. Which is a bit with a lot of tension, like it's very hard to remove. Just need to go very gently. Don't want to damage anything. There we go. Just set it aside. Okay, and you can see that there is one more plate on the right, and after we have the keyless work, which is pretty standard compared to, let's say, a normal watch to disassemble. So first I'm going to finish on this last bridge, which is left on this side. Okay, so remove the screws, and it's soldered as well by these screws that I removed earlier to remove a part but put it back in place. And as I say, I prefer to remove a screw, put it back, remove it again, rather than keeping it aside and maybe lose it or put a wrong screw in a wrong place. So that's a safer way to do it. Okay, so now it's off. You can see there is some parts as well under this plate. Okay, it's on. That's the hour hammer, so to reset the hammer. And that was the operating lever for the hour and minute, so for this side, to operate this side of the watch. Okay, so now let's concentrate on keyless work. Remove the screw. Oop, you see it jumped, and you can see, yeah, the spring is there, but I cannot see the yoke. That's not a good news. And after 1 hour of looking the part on the ground, if you do this as hobby as me, you know what it is. Yeah, you know that's really annoying. And I found the part back because yeah, on these vintage watches, some of the parts can be very expensive if you buy them on eBay or other websites. So you don't want to lose any parts when you disassemble it or break any parts, which you can have some parts which are already broken. That's why you service the watch, but you don't want to break parts yourself or lose parts yourself. So you need to be really careful when you disassemble with parts which are under tension. Okay, I think that's the last screw from the assembly to remove the part which is holding and the stem, the clutch and winding wheels. Everything is disassembled in places. Now I need to put everything into my basket. So if you like my videos, follow me as well on my other social media, on Instagram and Patreon. There will be many more updates are welcoming on this social media. So I put everything in order in the baskets, clean everything. I order a new mainspring because I just wanted to put a new one, put everything safely away. So the last part is to clean the watch, so now the part will be nice and clean. So that's it for this part. Everything is disassembled, everything is clean. So I hope to see you in my next episode. That will be the reassembly and the final product for this watch. So hope you enjoy the disassembly and hope you will enjoy the assembly even more. So thank you for watching. Bye bye.